Hello there, my name is Hideout and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're having a look at a granddaddy. It's Urza, who by all accounts is a bad lad. You know, that's the technical term for it. He's not a nice person, but he's quite a cool commander, especially this version of him. There's two different versions that have just released. Urza, Lord Protector. 3 mana for a 2/4 human artificer. Artifact, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. Ooh, nice little bit of advantage there. Allows you to cast your artifacts 1 less, and that might be the direction we're taking this deck in. But you can pay 7 if you both own and control Urza, Lord Protector, and an artifact named the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Exile them and meld them into Urza Planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery. So what meld is basically, it's like transform, except you combine 2 different cards together. So Urza becomes Urza Planeswalker. Dear God, have you got your reading glasses? So this is a Planeswalker, and I'm going to really struggle to read this because it is tiny. During each of your turns, you may activate 2 of his abilities, basically. And then he has 5 abilities plus 2. Instant, sorcery, and artifact spells cost 2 less to cast. Gain 2 life. Plus 1, draw 2 cards and discard a card. 0, create 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. -3, exile target non-land opponents. And -10, artifacts and planeswalkers you control get indestructible and destroy them. Or something like that. There's too many words, but that's why this is such a cool commander. And remember, you can use 2 of those abilities on each of the turns. This is awesome. So basically, 1/2, the Urza creature will have 1/2 this card, and the other is on the back of the Mightstone, Weakstone. So you flip them together and you get this guy. And if you look at the artwork, you can actually see what Urza did with those stones. He just went and jammed them into his face. I want to recommend it. Don't get like a ruby and a sapphire and go, you know, just jam them in. Not advisable. But what is advisable is subscribing to this channel. What a transition that was. So come along and join me as we journey into Magic. There's too many legendary creatures coming out, but I'll try and get to most of the interesting ones. And without further ado, let's have a look at number 5. And it's the Mightstone and the Weakstone, because I think I said Meekstone before. It's not Meekstone. This is essential to flipping our commander, and we've got to search this out and use it. 5 mana for a legendary artifact Power Stone. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1, draw 2 cards, or target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. So a nice little bit of removal there. But we can also tap it to add double colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So I'd really go down the artifact route with this commander. You know, we want to be sort of churning through our deck with lots of little artifacts that draw cards. But this also helps us activate our commander's ability, because if you read it, it's only cast non-artifact spells. There you go. So we can use it to activate abilities. And obviously it melds. So what are we going to use to search this card up? Moonsilver Key is a great one. 2 mana for an artifact. Pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. The great thing about this is it's flexible. You know, if you really do need to get that land, that's great. But it can just search up this bad boy. And that takes me on to Vexing Puzzle Box, another, you know, mana ramp sort of thing, but it's really, really good for this deck. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, put a number of charge counters on Vexing Puzzle Box equal to the result. So you can build this into a little sub-theme. You know, dice rolling's become blackboarded a couple of sets ago, so why not? And it's just a generic mana rock. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour, roll a d20, and then you can tap it and remove 100 charge counters from it. Search your library for an artifact card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So this can search up our Mightstone, Weakstone? I can't remember what it's called, but it can do it. So it's a nice little sub-theme you could build into the deck. And it's just a rock at the end of the day. Then Reshape is one of my favourite ways to search up cards. Double blue and X sorceries. Initial cost to cast this, sacrifice an artifact. So remember, this is going to reduce by 1 if our commander is on the field. Oh, the synergies never end. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. So it goes straight onto the field of play. Then we've got Whir of Invention, very similar, better in every way. Triple blue. Whoa. And X for an instant with Improvise. So your artifacts help you to cast the spell as friendly artifacts. For each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities, it pays for 1 generic. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. So these cards get the stone, I'll just call it the stone from now on, straight onto the field. But Enlightened Tutor is a great way of searching up, not just that, but any artifact really. 1 white for an instant, search your library for an artifact or enchantment card and reveal that card. Shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Well, very expensive monetarily, but very cheap manorifically. So a great card there. And then we've got Tesseret the Seeker. 5 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker +1, untap up to 2 target artifacts. So we're not playing green, so majority of our ramp is going to be artifact based. That's really, really good, and they've got a whole section coming up about untapping artifacts and things like that. Then we've got -X, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So we just need to uptick once, and then we can downtick by 5 to get the stone. And then we've got a -5, artifacts you control become artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. So if we go for sort of an egg style deck where we're playing a lot of things, you know, constantly playing little card draw, cantrippy sort of things, this could make them all into a big threat. So there you go, some great ways to search up the stones. I've got the stones. And that brings me on to number 4. And at number 4, well, by God, it's ways to untap things. Oh. Vizier of Tumbling Sands is fantastic, and it also has cycling, the best mechanic ever printed. Why do we go South African? Anyway, cycling is discard this card, draw a card. So another way of churning through the deck. But you can tap this creature to untap another target permanent. When you cycle it, untap target permanent. So 2 ways of untapping a permanent. God, so many permanents. And the main reason I want to focus on things like this is the artifact ramp that I'm going to talk about in a second. It taps for a lot of mana, and the stones also tap for a lot of mana. And our commander's ability to meld costs 7, so we're going to need a lot of mana. So Fate Stitcher is a very similar card, you know, slightly better, I'd say, in ways. 4 mana for a 1/2, you may tap or untap another permanent. So this is great for controlling our opponent. Say there's a Voltron deck over there, you can use it to tap this down. And then we can unearth it for a single blue. So you bring it back from the graveyard for a single blue, gains haste and exiles at end of turn. So what this means is we can pay a blue. Say we've got a Gilded Lotus on the field, we tap it for 3 blue. Then we can untap it with Fate Stitcher and then tap it for another 3 blue. Good God, my basic maths failed me there. Then there's another sort of direction we can go with this. It's Training Grounds. 1 blue for an enchantment. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost up to 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana and ability cost to activate to less than 1. So this would make our commander's ability 5 mana to activate. Hey, there we go, nice and simple. So this is good if we're going very much into the activated ability route, you know, with a lot of different creatures. Then Mind Over Matter is a slightly different way of untapping things. 6 mana for an enchantment, choose and discard a card, tap or untap target artifact, creature or land. This can allow us to generate tons and tons of mana. You know, we just churn through the cards in our hand. And then if we're flipping our commander into the Planeswalker side, we can just do it +1, draw the 4 cards, yes, discard 2, but we can refill our hand easily. Really, really awesome. Then Basalt Monolith, and here are the artifacts that I'm talking about in terms of getting up there in mana. 3 mana for an artifact. It doesn't untap during its own your untap step. Tapped to add triple colours and pay 3 to untap it. So this is a great way to just accelerate you massively, and with our commander this is only going to cost you 2 mana. Oh, the reductions. Then there's Thran Dynamo, a very similar version of that card. 4 mana for an artifact, tap for triple colourless. So if we have some way of untapping it, suddenly we've got 6 colours, we can meld our commander straight away. Then Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana for an artifact, tap for 3 colours, but you can also pay 3 and tap it and sacrifice it to draw 3 cards. So these sort of cards I really like, because in the late game, you know, when your hand's depleted, you can sacrifice this, refill, and then you've got some gas to work with. A very cool card. And there you go. So untappers, some big mana. This is a way to sort of flip our commander. And that takes me on to number 3. And at number 3, we've got a black screen that turns into a Mystic Forge. 4 mana for an artifact. Look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card. And you can tap, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. So I'd really build this deck as a sort of churn through your deck, cast a bunch of artifacts, and then once we've got the mana, flip our commander and control from there. That's my sort of take on this deck, especially with the reduction that we're getting off our commander. So playing from the top of our library just allows us to draw more cards in essence. Similarly, we've got Future Sight, 5 mana for an enchantment. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library. This is wonderful. This allows us to play lands even, which is just fantastic. Being able to just get through there, get all the way through. And if you like that, Symmetry Illuminator is a 3 mana 2/3 spirit that does a very similar job. It's flying, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. So nice bit of graveyard hate. Reanimation is obviously a massive threat in EDH, so good to have some incidental value. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Once each turn, you may cast a spell from the top of your library if it shares a card type with a card exile with Symmetry Illuminator. So obviously the Mystic Forge is more focused on artifacts. This allows us to focus on enchantments, things like that. Really cool card, and a nice bit of graveyard hate. And then we've got Magus of the Future, 5 mana 2/3. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Now, having to play with the top card of your library revealed, it does allow your opponents to see what's coming, but it's worth it, I think. You know, it's worth to have that sort of extra card draw and the ability to dig through the deck. And that brings me on to number 2. So we're playing from the top of our library. What do we want to encounter on our way through? Cloud Key is a great one because it does exactly what our commander does. It reduces the cost of something. 3 mana for an artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery. That's 5. You don't get to choose 5, you get to choose 1 of the 5, but I just thought I'd point out there's 5 of them because I managed to count on my fingers. Aren't I clever? Spells you cast to the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. Ooh. So there you go. We can potentially reduce our artifacts, instants, or sorceries by 2 mana if this and our commander is on the field. And thanks to our commander, this only costs 2 mana. That's pretty solid. Then if we're going the artifact route, Ugin the Ineffable is incredible. 6 mana, 4 loyalty, legendary, Planeswalker Ugin. Rare. No, it's a rare. I can't from this distance because my screen's over there. I can't actually read the artist, so anyway, we'll stop this. Color spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. That's all artifacts and Ugins. And a couple of other things, you know, Eldrazi's if you were playing Devoid cards. They're colorless. Hey. +1, exile the top card of your library face down and look at it. Create a 2/2 color spirit creature token. When that token leaves the battlefield, put the exile card into your hand. That's a bit of card advantage and also a great way of protecting your planeswalkers. Not just this one, but maybe our commander as well. -3, destroy target opponent that's 1 or more colors. Things generally tend to have a color, so nice to destroy them. Then we've got Eye of Vechner, and these are a couple of cards that I want to see on the top of my library and I want to cast because when it ends the battlefield, we draw a card, so we're drawing through the deck. If the top of our library's got something we can't cast, we play a card like this, draw it, hopefully there's something better underneath. And this is added utility because at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 generic. If you do, you draw a card and you lose 2 life. So again, helps us to dig and dig and dig. Diggy dig. Then we've got Icker Wellspring. Oh, my old friend. Can you be friend with a Wellspring? I don't know. 2 mana for an artifact when it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So if we've got a way of sacrificing a card or, you know, something like that, we can draw 2 cards off this. That's very nice indeed. Then, this isn't an artifact, but I'd like to see it on top of my deck. Approach of the Second Sun. 7 mana for a sorcery. If it was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach to the second sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put it into its owner's library, 7 from the top, and you gain 7 life. So you have to cast this spell twice. But it puts it on top of your library. So if we're filtering through our library, we're going to be able to get to this and cast it again. And dear God, look at this. Our commander reduces its cost by 1. Wow. That's phenomenal. Then we've got Telling Time, another instant that I think is quite good in the deck. 2 mana for an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand, one on the top of your library, and one on the bottom of your library. So a nice filtering instant here. And with our commander on the field, it's just a single blue. So that's very, very good to see. Then Mystical Tutor. We talked about another tutor earlier, but this is the Instants and Sorcery version. 1 blue instant, search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal that card, shuffle your library, put that card on top of it. So really set yourself up. One of the best things to do with this is at the end step before someone passes the turn to you, you cast this, put something you want to draw on, maybe Approach to the Second Suns, who knows, and then you can win the game or something like that, or you've got a board wipe to win. Win, 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 win. So there you go, some nice cards that I'd like to see and help sort of filter through the deck. And then let's have a look at what we've got for number 1. So obviously we've now flipped our commander. We've got a massive Planeswalker the size of 2 cards that's taking up most of the board space. You've moved it onto your opponent's play mat. They're screaming and crying. Great times are had by all. But at number 1 we've got Rings of Brighthearth, because commander's abilities, or our commander's abilities, are activated abilities. 3 mana artifact. Whenever you activate an ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, our commander, we can activate it twice, the Planeswalker side at least. So we can copy those abilities twice. We're getting 4 activations in essence of our commander's abilities. That's ridiculous. So we can exile 4 permanents possibly. We could make 8 1/1s, by God. Could draw 8, discard 4. There's so many possibilities, and it just works incredibly. And if you want to go down a Planeswalker sort of style deck, a control deck with Planeswalkers, this is just wonderful. Really good card. Similarly, we've got Lithophob Engine. It's not as good, but it has other utility. 4 mana legendary artifact. Pay 2. Tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. What happens if you copy the meld ability? I'd assume nothing, but it's something you could do. If you've got the mana, why not? Pay 3 and tap. Copy target instant sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Or 4 and tap. Copy target permanent spell you control. Oh, that's really, really good. There's so much copying and just allows you to double up on cool little effects. Then we've got Oath of Teferi. 5 mana for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent you control. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Now, when you've melded your commander, I would advise not flickering it, because if it leaves the battlefield, I believe it just returns as the component pieces. So you'd get your Might Stone back, whatever it's called, the stones, and then you get your little Urza back, your teeny little Urza. But I suppose that could be good, actually. The Might Stone, oh God, I keep saying the wrong thing. The stones enter the battlefield and draw you 2 cards. I don't know, it's up to you. But you may activate loyalty abilities Planeswalkers you control twice each turn rather than only once. I don't know if that would actually affect Urza, but I don't know. Yeah, find out. Then we've got Heart of Kiran, a nice bit of protection that's also an artifact. So it's 1 mana with our commander on the field. 2 mana 4/4 flying vigilant vehicle, crew 3. Or you may remove a loyalty counter from a Planeswalker control rather than pay its crew cost. So our commander, Planeswalker, has a lot of loyalty. So a great little vehicle there. So please tell me if Oath of Teferi works. I don't know if it does now that I'm actually saying it. But, I've suggested it anyway. Too late. Can't take it back. I'm not refilming this. Jesus Christ. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this and got some cool suggestions. And, I hope I've helped. That's all I really want in life. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.